amalgamation and amalgamation is there. And in somewhere in the States, somewhere in France, somewhere in Germany. What about the tax? Nothing goes in that. Secondly, then there is the abuse. What Mr. Arya referred to. That the government itself, whose government? My government. Who elected it? Me. Have we checked our government? Have we checked our people? They abused our power, our money, sold to their own people, those who make money. Where we are to be accused? Then
I think we are diverting from the theme of this workshop.
no, the idea is this is with regard to merger acquisitions. This is the merger what I am referring to, come by Government of India. There is a use of it, there is abuse of it. The use I am referring to the bank. Abuse what I am referring to, what Mr. Arya has referred to. Then there is the MNC, those who are using and accusing is. There are MNCs, if we have resources and we don't have the funds to use those resources and other people are coming and using those resources and development take place, what is the harm in that?
Sir, he is absolutely right.
That
What I want to say.
No, that's the one side of the coin. Other side is, yes, the fertile land should not be misused. That's the second part of the coin. There are two aspects of the same issue. The fertile land. Now the decision has been taken that SEZ should be given the land which is not a fertile land but a barren land. So that's a good idea. So that's how the things are cultivating. So there is not one side of the coin. There are two sides of the coin. That is what I am referring to. Then what you said, sir, regarding tax. These companies are being given tax holidays for 10 years. What are they doing? Giving employment to my people, to my own
What is happening in Lalgarh? What is happening in Lalgarh?
Take a second. Just a minute. You see, we got to have certain minimum discipline. You had your point.
Right.
Now let me answer with the permission of the chairman.
Sir, before you answering, sir, please, he should introduce himself, please, sir. You introduce yourself, sir.
I am Dr. Rawat. I am with the
You raised a question about what is the harm if people make money, Vedanta has made money. There is no harm. Nobody is objecting to making money. Wealth creation is the basic purpose of business. But surprisingly, what Peter Tucker has said in US, same thing was said by Jahangir Jamshedji Tata in 1875 in India. And what they said about business, that is something very important I would request all of you to remember. They said, profit making is not the objective of business. It is only an incidental activity. What you retain ultimately out of profit, it doesn't remain with you. See, money has to be circulated. I am not objecting to Anil Agrawal making money. I am objecting to government playing stooge in the hand of Anil Agrawal. And all the profit going to an individual. That is what I am objecting to. As long as it is used for common goal, larger good of people, that's the most welcome thing. As he rightly said, see, our resources, we don't have money, we can't exploit those natural resources. So we need money. But while allowing foreign companies or domestic companies to exploit those resources, we should make sure that we are not exploited in the process. What my learned friend mentioned about TASCO, media flushed it in all the newspaper, electronic media that PASCO is investing 52,000 crores. But what they forgot to mention, or what they wrote in small letters, is that this investment is over 10 years. What PASCO was interested, they said that we will have a 1 million steel plant in Odisha. But under the garb of establishing that 1 million steel plant, they wanted to have rights to export the iron ore to Korea. Now I must tell you, country like Brazil, country like Mexico, they have not allowed their iron ore to be exported to anyone. And if we, which is the 7th largest iron exporting country in the world, if we allow that, see, we were exporting iron to Japan at the rate of 300 rupees per ton, and we were importing steel from Japan at the rate of 6,500 per ton. This is the kind of differences we make. Just imagine more than 20 times value addition. This is what our government has been doing. He talked about merger of banks. New Bank of India, which was a loss-making bank, was merged with profit-making Punjab National Bank. You have one member in the family who is earning, you dump 10 other members of the family who are useless, who don't do anything and make this one earning member also sick. This is the kind of policy we have been following. Death is a natural process, whether it is of an individual or of a corporate entity. We have to be check pay. Whosoever, whether it is in private sector, public sector, MNC, does not perform has no right to exist. And whatever is the problems arising out of that, we have to face it. What you mentioned, sir, about small and medium enterprise, you would be surprised that more than 60% of the export of the country is through SMEs, small and medium enterprise. And government funding is not even 20%. The major culprits are large organizations. Rahul Bajaj, he mentioned that why banks should not be privatized when government was thinking of privatizing banks. One union, United Commercial Bank Officers Association fellow, he came out with a declaration. He says, what is he talking? He is the biggest culprit. He has taken loan, and his group company has taken loans worth more than 1,300 crore and he is the biggest defaulter. So what is he talking about privatization of bank? Question in India is not of privatization of public sector. You also mentioned about Air India making loss. I was Director HR and Legal in Air India. You know how it has been made sick? I left in 91. Mr. Praful Patel has married his daughter to Vijay Mallya, son, Siddharth. And deliberately it has been made sick. All the profit-making route has been given to small organizations. That is how it has been made.
May I add that
Airport authority
Yes,
is not allowed to, airport authority is not allowed to take the rent which is taken from the other airlines because of
And Vijay Mallya owns more than 1,300 crore as dues to all public sector petroleum companies. His checks have bounced.
now any other put one thing. Sir, let me put one thing before I put the outspoken house. See, these mergers and acquisitions are approved by High Court. Now, we must have confidence in the wisdom of the High Court judges. Similarly, if there is a tax incentive given, it is given by officers who have been selected and your sons and daughters. So, let us not put all claims together. See, these are approved under certain conditions. If those conditions are fulfilled only, then these are approved, not otherwise. And if they don't fulfill the condition, there is a power to rectify the orders. Now the house is open for questions.
Sir, I'd like to make a point.
One by one, please.
Excuse me, sir.
Firstly, I would like to suggest this house that our discussion should be based in such a fashion that something concrete comes out in the way of creation, which may go to the government, instead of accusing someone that he has made money, he has lost this, he has married his son, whatever. All is happening. All this is a common knowledge. But it should be in the form of creation. Everyone is giving his time here. It's a workshop which should give something to the nation.
Mr. Chairman, may I
In the reservation, it will be expected.
may I make a few observations?
Give the opportunity to others, sir. You have already asked. Let the others.
Mr. Chairman, I would share the possible background of the subject as it was put in the program was mergers and acquisitions, corporate development. It seems the discussion so far has been primarily motivated to or directed to, motivation is the wrong word, as if it should have been corporate decline and not development. I have had some occasion to spend my last 40 years between business and a bit of jurisprudence, and currently I am becoming a lapsed player in both the fields because of my age. But there are 2-3 things which I want to definitely submit to this house. The basic objective behind any private enterprise is undoubtedly money. That cannot be denied without getting into the fact or circumstances of the case. But when mergers and acquisitions are undertaken, they are undertaken not merely with the objective of exploiting a situation, not always. There could be good examples, some have been talked about, no need repeating. But there could be reasons basically of growth and diversification. There could be reasons of market penetration and expansion. There could be reasons relating to skills which are available. There could be reasons which could be related to technology upgradation which may not exist. This has happened, as we have seen, in the IT industry, in the automobile industry, in the airlines industry, in the insurance industry. You can name as many service industries as you like. But I think without permitting the abuse or misuse of the policies or the enforcement agencies responsible for those policies, we cannot go by the fact that every merger and every demerger or disinvestment is a bad thing. We must also look at it that today we are one of the 5 top steel companies of the world because Tata's merger with Chorus. If it would not have happened, we would be languishing behind one of the 100th or something like that. In telecommunications, we are ahead. There are small companies which have gone international, to even name some of them. There is a small company making medical instruments like OptoCircuits. It has gone around the world acquiring something and adding value, and then bringing back some of those facilities with the technology back to the country and using it. There are small players, but nonetheless they are growing big. Welspun Gujarat, I can name innumerable instances. The brief substance that I wish to say is that all mergers and all acquisitions, like all human deeds, can be bad and good. It is how we look at it. But one last point that I want to submit, that any merger and acquisition must also look at the most important resource, and that is the human resource. Merging culture, values, the tax authorities will merge the accounts and balance sheets, look at it critically, the company law board, the enforcement agencies, SEBI, all will look at their aspect. But I think one aspect which in any successful merger, whether within India or outside India, is the human factor, and merging values, cultures, harmony of people towards growth is an area which I think we have been lacking somewhat and deep. Thank you very much.
I'd like to make one simple observation. Give your telephone number and friends. You introduce yourself, sir.
My name is Bharadwaj, Vishnu Bharadwaj. I spent large part of my life with Unilever and with some of the Indian houses, and I have also spending some time with the legal profession. I'll certainly leave my telephone number with you.
To that, I want to put forth a question to you which pertains to the new direct tax code. First of all, I'm glad that we started focusing the discussion on what the actual topic of this is, mergers and acquisitions. And when we talk about that, it becomes important to talk about legislation, which I'm glad that you had brought forward. There are certain aspects of mergers and acquisitions when we discuss this issue need to be highlighted. Aspects such as a good due diligence, how to make a merger or an acquisition successful, of how an integration needs to take place, the FDI guidelines, if you are aware of the new Press Note 234 that were brought about in 2009, what that has changed as far as M&A activities in India are concerned, the system of checks and balances. I always think it's very easy to criticize what's happening around us, but we also have to understand that our economy works on a principle of checks and balances. If there is a company that is trying to invest in India, it needs to take permission from our FIPB or Foreign Invest Promotion Board. There are FDI guidelines that are in place beyond which no investment can be made. So these are factors that cut down the system of checks and balances, and we are sort of aware of where that money is going. Environment issues such as ruining the environment. There are methods of an environment impact assessment that are brought forth. There are guidelines that have been laid down as to how that needs to take place. So what we are basically doing is we are encouraging investment and at the same time having a very strict and an efficient system of checks and balances. Now what we can debate upon is whether those systems of checks and balances are good enough or not, but not whether what has happened is good enough or not. Now, in light of that, I'd like to ask one question that pertains to a new direct tax code. So, in the new direct tax code has a provision which states that it supersedes all other tax legislations, of course, which is the Income Tax Act. And in case there is any conflict between the direct tax code and any other tax